Welcome back, guys. Will Robinson here from Robinson's Auto Toolsandtime.com. Today in the shop we have this 97 Chevy S10 pickup. It's actually my own little truck that I use for a beater around the shop. I would like to put it back in the service for like running for parts and whatnot because it is a relatively good running truck. However, the check engine light is on. So we want to dig in there, see why this check engine light's on. That way I can put some stickers on it. So without further ado, let's pull up some scan data and see what's going on. Okay, so we have one stored DTC, as we're seeing there. Read codes. O2 sensor heater circuit, bank 1, sensor 3. One of two. So let's just scroll over one page and make sure we're not missing something else. It's just that same code. Alright, so what do we do next? I think we should actually get down there and verify everything. Right now the vehicle's cooled down, so I'd hate to go starting it up. Most likely going to be an open in that O2 sensor is my gut feeling. So we'll get down there and we'll inspect that out. Alright, so now if we come under the truck, you'll see the spider webs. That's bank 1, sensor 1. Bank 2, sensor 1. And then you'll have another O2 sensor right here, and they would call that bank 1, sensor 2. So there isn't a bank 2, sensor 2. This one has a bank 1, sensor 2. And then after the cat, you'll have bank 1, sensor 3. And that's where we're at today. So our issue lies somewhere with this rear O2 sensor. Okay, so now I got you set up on a tripod. We have our O2 sensor harness right here. I'm going to take you over to the wiring schematic here in a second. But just knowing these sensors, there's usually a pink and a black. Well, it used to be pink. You can almost see it down underneath the loom. It's still pink. Out here it almost looks like a pinkish brown, but don't get it mixed with the brown. But on the vehicle harness side, you'll have a pink and then you'll have a black. And I think that black may have a white tracer on it. I'm not certain. We'll take and we'll unplug this. And we'll unplug the O2 sensor from the harness. So now this is the O2 sensor side and this is the vehicle harness. And what we'd want to do is on the O2 sensor side, ooh, what's that? Okay, I'm already seeing something I am not liking. Let me zoom you in. We have some green crusties going on. Not sure if you can see that right there, but that is our pink wire. That is our O2 sensor heater wire. Not good. So if we take a look here at how this would plug in. Okay, I go off of that pink wire, so we have this brown wire on the O2 sensor side of the circuit. So the two brown wires are your O2 sensor heater. And we have our green crusties right on that pink wire. Not good. What I would normally do now is, let me get a drop light. So what I would do now is determine what two wires are my O2 heater. And we know it's the two brown wires. I'd flip it over and lo and behold, inside the heater plug itself, or the O2 sensor side of it, there is no terminal remaining. Hopefully you can see that the terminal is absolutely disintegrated. missing in action. MIA, no longer there. So without that terminal being there, that heater is not going to work. So it is an open circuit. How do we know if it's just that terminal that's causing all these problems, or is the heater shot in addition to that? Well, we could get a multimeter, and a heater is essentially just a filament, right? So it should be a continuous circuit from this brown wire is going to one side of the heater, the other brown wire is going to the opposing side of the heater inside the oxygen sensor. So we could do a resistance check and make sure we have continuity, continuous flowing from one wire to the next. It should be pretty much a closed, should essentially be a closed loop. So we will take and do a resistance check on those two conductors, and that will tell us if the heater is potentially still good inside that oxygen sensor. All right, I'm going to put this right where you guys can see it. I'm going to put this onto resistance. Okay. I like putting it on the audible. That way, if that heater is indeed good, it'd be like touching these two probes together. You'll hear that audible signal, and then you'll also be able to measure the resistance at the same time. So we are on the heater side. We know the two brown wires are indeed the heater circuit. So I want to get one probe up inside into that cavity where I can see a little nub of that terminal that's still remaining. So we'll get that in there, and we'll rub that around a little bit, clean some of them crusties off. Now on this one, I want to put it to that other, oh, there you go, I just touched it. And as you can see and hear, that heater is still intact inside that oxygen sensor. So that's telling me that potentially that heater is still good. And our issue is just that terminal. Now whether or not the oxygen sensor has been affected from that heater circuit not working in quite some time is unknown. But the most logical fix on this would be to put a new oxygen sensor on it and be done with it, and clean up this side of the harness on the vehicle. Or we could potentially just fix this terminal. Maybe be just fine. What would you guys do? Alright guys, so unfortunately I thought I had another O2 sensor, used one laying around. I was going to fix this for you while it was still in the vehicle, but I don't have another terminal. So therefore we are going to just purchase a new one and replace it. And a few years back, you'll see there's a video of where I played around with making O2 sensor sockets. This one was a purchased OEM 25001 OEM 7/8. And what I did, I welded, I had a swivel, half-inch swivel extension that we popped apart, and I welded it to the side for hard to reach O2 sensors. So you'll see it has the slice in there, so you could leave the wires in place. I'm gonna have to aim it like this. And then what I do, I put it like that. Now my option before welding that piece on, you would get a ratchet and put up here. But as you can see, in some scenarios, that's going to be very hard to do. They put it so you can put a 7/8 wrench on there as well. But come on, how are you going to get a 7/8 wrench on there? Okay, so I have a nice long half-inch extension. And what I do is I put it on here like so. And that gives us a nice long lever. There it goes. Pops up at the same time. So as you can see, it broke it loose. shot up in there. Try to save those threads as much as we can. Oh yeah, that's better. Alright, she's happy. Alright, and there you have it. There's our O2 sensor removed. I'll have to get it out of the socket. Yeah, that's what happened. It started turning just a little bit. Well, before I put the new sensor on, we might as well unpin this connector and see if we could clean up that terminal. Looks like I gotta take and pop this cover off. Like so. Both sides. Get that out of the way. It's just that little plastic piece. Set that up there. Alright, next I want to take and pull this conductor and that pin out so we can inspect it and clean it. So what I got, a thin pin will work, but this is one of my test leads for the multimeter, DVOM. It's that Radio Shack test kit that I bought years ago. But it has like a pinpoint and it's really fine. It's actually smaller than even my acupuncture test leads for my oscilloscope. This one actually works really well for this. But you'll see on the front side, underneath each terminal, there's like this little square, half a square cutout. That's where you stick something in like this, and you'll feel it go in. Usually it's not very far, but I'll stick it in there like that. There's a little tab in there that when you push these connectors in, they go in and then they won't pull back out because that little piece is bent down to prevent it from popping out. So when we do this, we're actually taking when we're pushing up on that piece, and then, oh, there you go, worked first shot. And you could pull, yeah, I'm gonna need two hands. There you go. Pull that conductor out like so. Wow, surprisingly, the other half is not in there. But you'll see this little piece with this pin removed now. Hopefully you can see that little piece I was talking about. We'll have to bend that back down. Right there. That is made to slide in one direction and then not be able to pull back out. So we have to go in from the front side of this plug, and we can do that on any one of them. And when we push that in, we push that piece up and it allows you to pull it out. So what I'm going to do is just get some contact cleaner, spray that down, and clean up all the green crusties in there. And then we'll pop it back together with the new O2 sensor. Then that away. It might get a little dark over here for a little bit. Probably should have wore gloves. Then I'm just gonna take and clean that all out. I think you guys get the idea. So I got this really small precision file kit. You can see there. So what I'm going to do is just pick out a really small precision file like that. We're going to take and proceed to cleaning that up. But hopefully you guys can see it cleaned up really nice. There's this little spring, like a piece of the connector that's bent around, and it actually acts like a little bit of a spring to give you a nice contact. What I want to do is get underneath it with this pin. I want to pry that up a little bit. Okay, just like that. We'll make sure this bottom one is pushed out enough, like so. That way when we push it back into the connector, it retains itself. In addition, I got a little bit of dielectric grease that I want to pack that thing full of, we're going to take and slide it back together. Make sure none of it got pushed out. And I'm going to put it over top of that whole plug. And hopefully that helps protect it from here on out. Okay, so I just got the new O2 sensor. We'll be using a Bosch 15703. It comes with the little never sees on the threads. Be careful not to get any on the sensor itself. Make sure the plug is the same. Install your new sensor. Never thought I'd hear myself say, I got the vehicle lifted too high. I have to stand on my tippy toes. I'll be honest with you, to install these, I just use a 7/8 wrench. Plug in our new sensor. Everything should fit nicely. Well, I almost forgot to put this retaining clip back in place. So if you guys remember how that went, pretty much each wire has its own little spot. And then it clips on like so to keep them from coming unplugged. Don't want to forget that. Let's just perform a couple more tests. That way we could put this heater circuit to rest. How do you like that one? I'm just gonna unhook this again. This up here. Now, say we had that code originally, right, for that heater circuit, and this was the old O2 sensor that was still in there. And we came down here and we unplugged it, right? And we know on the old one it was 2 brown wires, but this one is now 2 white wires. I would come down here with my ohm meter, just a quick demonstration for everybody that may just be learning. Just a quick recap. I'd put it on ohms. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let me jack you out a little bit here. I'd put you on ohms. Then I would take and, like I mentioned before, I like to hear the audible sound. So you just do it until that audible signal comes up. And as I mentioned before, that heater circuit is essentially just an element that should be a continuous loop. And you should hear that. So we're going to take and test this new O2 sensor. So we know the 2 white ones. So we go here. Hopefully you can see that. And it'll be those 2 terminals. And we are good. You can hear that heater is continuous in there. And it's still in one piece and still working good. Okay. So that's a quick test of the heater element. That's what I figured was burned out inside the old oxygen sensor. So when we first kicked it off, and I mentioned we probably have it open in the oxygen sensor, most likely going to be an open in that O2 sensor. I figured it was in the heater itself, not in the circuit. And then we later came back and found, you know, the terminal was completely missing. So now I'm going to go up top. I'm going to get a ladder. I'm going to go up top. We're going to throw the key on. Okay, key is on. We're going to turn this to volts. It's already in volts DC. And you'll see how the meter bounces around a lot. But that is just because it's reading millivolts. So I added a couple adapters on here so they're about the same size as a normal pin, so you don't go stretching anything out of whack. And we're going to take and front probe the pink with the red, and then the black with the black. And as you can see, my battery is a little bit low from all this troubleshooting, but I have 10.8 volts. However, we aren't really putting a load on this circuit, and we want to make sure we don't have any other green crusties anywhere else in that heater circuit that's going to trip that code later on. So when we put a load on this, if there is green crusty somewhere else is going to pull that 10 volts down. So we got to put a load on there. We'll put an artificial load on it. Let me go get a test light. All right guys, here I have a test light that uses a 194 light bulb. So this is going to put a pretty heavy load on that circuit. So I'm going to just expose these a little bit. I'm going to put my ground on the ground side. I'm going to expose this one a little bit. And then hopefully you can still read that. Ooh, you can see how that lights up nice and bright. And we barely see any kind of voltage drop on that meter. So that's telling me the integrity of that circuit from here to the front of the vehicle is in good shape. So now I'm going to do one more test. I'm going to plug this in and we're going to see how many amps that heater's drawing on the circuit. So let's take and plug our new sensor in. I'm going to grab a different meter that's capable of doing DC amps. We're going to set that to 40 amps DC. And then we're going to expose any one of them white wires. So take and expose that wire there. We're going to put an amp clamp around there. And hopefully you can see that I got 1.5 amps. Alright, take it off. We have 0.2, you know, it's just reading milliamps. Throw it on there. 1.48, right around there. So we know that heater is now working inside that O2 sensor. On to the next. That's confirmed, fixed, done, kaput. We'll let it run its own cycle as far as its monitoring cycle, but I believe now we are good to go. Alrighty people, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the ABS repair, see what's going on.